Wait a minute. You're doing a first impressions? The game is 2 months old and there are plenty of those about. Well, yes, I'm quite a casual player. And all the other ones are done by people who are quite deep into this stuff. This one is done by a person who is, well, really a proper new player. Well. I finally got to play an actual game. It was a quite regular getting to know the game. Me and my friend sitting at home, just trying it out. I will not bore you with a long battle report, but I will make a quick run through of the basics, just to give us a background to my thoughts and experiences. First off, the terrain. I did not previously own any wargaming terrain, so I just made this stuff up. The advantage there being that I could take all the traits, etc. from the rules into account when I built it. My opponent played the Thousand Suns, and I played the Tactical Marines with the Sergeant here with the plasma gun and the power fist. A plasma gunner, because who doesn't take a plasma gunner? And the heavy bolter, and 3 regular dudes. I played the security tac ops, while my friend took the seek and destroy tac ops. We played the open game, where you just have 4 victory points that you just tap for victory points. The scoring went quite my way. I got 13 versus my opponent's 6. And there were 2 main things we noticed during the game. One of them was a quite lucky shot from my heavy bolter, which erased my opponent's soul cannon thing before he even got to fire. There was also a point during the game where I had 4 guys being down to 2 or less lives. A quick elaboration on these observations. First of all, the difference in points there. It might very well have been down to the mission itself. I had 3 action points while my opponent had 2, which pretty much meant I could do something useful and then tap, or tap and then do something useful. My opponent struggled a bit because he pretty much had to choose either. The guns of my opponent were quite scary. I have no idea what they call it, but I guess it's just, let's call them magical bolters. They're bolters with armor piercing 1, which pretty much meant you could say they're pretty much light plasma guns. They could do a lot of damage. I don't know if I was lucky, skilled, or if it's just built into the stats of the Marines, that at one point I was actually down to 4 guys having 2 or less lives. Either way, it was really useful to have them there on the table, and I think it's too early to draw the conclusion if it was skill, stats, or, well, just luck. Third, the lucky shot from my heavy bolter, which took out his equivalent at the first round. I think it would have made a quite huge difference, especially since, well, you can't see it here, but he was actually in a quite good position behind cover with a lot of open lanes which you could provide covering fire for. And I think it would have been quite a difference if my team would have had to take that into account while running around. So, what do I think about the game now when I actually played it? Well, I really like it. I really like the few models. It gives a lot of advantages. First of all, you don't have to spend a lot of time just moving models about. which is nice. You can concentrate on the game itself, and the game itself is, I think, well done. I think the decision space is kind of tight. You know, there's every movement means something, every activation means something, and that's nice because, I mean, that's what you're there for. And I think those few models help there. And also it's kind of handy to have few models. I mean, I can store them in a small box and I can have several teams instead of having to spend, you know, a month to paint up one army to try it out, and then sort of, nah, I didn't like it, I go with something else. I play with my Space Marines now, but I already painted up these mechanical guys. I still can't remember the names, and even some Death Watch. Not that I had the time to play with them yet, but I mean, you have to have, in this case, 9 models, in this case, or something like that, 10 something, and in this case 5 just to play. It's kind of handy. One thing that does not come natural to me is the wording light and heavy cover. Standing behind this big old rock here gives you light cover. 1 retained die. The same as being behind some scrap metal and Christmas lights from the Octarius box. For me, the wording light and heavy would refer more to the effect. Sort of like if you're behind heavy cover, you will get 2 retained die. I believe it's already built into the balance already, but well, it just doesn't feel natural. Also, in melee, there is no armor save. I mean, I believe it's built into the balance, but it feels kind of odd that this guy does not really get an advantage over this guy. These things does not really worry me too much. I mean, as I've stated all the time here, I believe the game is still really balanced. But I do believe that I will go back to the core rulebook and just read the rules once more in light of these observations. Well, that's it. Cheers.